Hi, welcome to Unique Conversations with Krys podcast. I am your host, Krys, and today is my very first episode of my season 2. I am so excited to share the footage and content from my live event that I had recently. I decided to try it out and see what it would be like if I got all of my podcast guests that had been on the first season together in a panel discussion. And of course, what good conversation doesn't involve food? So I included a brunch and I opened it up to the public to attend. And I actually had a really good time. And I actually think it's something that I want to try to do more often. And so as I continue to get more comfortable with doing this and see the need or see the benefit in it, I think that I will continue with that approach. Is at the end of each season, perhaps having a live in-person event or something of that sort. So stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. And then also, if you do not follow me on my Uniquely Noble page, which is where I share my email lists and newsletters about what's happening, especially with my events that I host under Uniquely Noble, then I suggest you do that too, because that way you can stay tuned and in touch as to what I have going on. Now, one thing I will say before I jump into this episode or share some of the footage from the event, although it was great and things went as smoothly as they could, I had everything set up prior to the actual podcast part starting. I left the room, went in and mingled with the guests that were having the brunch. I came back in, got ready to record. Inevitably, something happened where the technology and the software glitched. And so what you will notice is that the quality of the content is not the same that I would typically do if I'm doing this here. I had to make a quick snap decision just to go with the flow and accept the recording for what they are. So the audio won't be as great as what you heard in person. The video won't be as crisp and clean as what you saw in person. But I made the decision to make the best of it and not allow myself to focus on the things that were not going right at that moment and focus on the purpose and intent of the event was just to have a conversation. And I'm recognizing that although it's not going to be perfect, hopefully there will still be some nuggets of wisdom that you can glean from the content regardless of how good the audio is or how good the video is, that it actually helps someone out there. Welcome to the Unique Conversations with Krys podcast. I am your host, Krys. And if this is your very first episode, welcome. This is actually footage from my very first live event. And if you saw the first clip prior to this video starting, you are aware that I mentioned that we had all sorts of issues with technology. And despite my efforts of planning and doing all the research to get everything just so, as it would happen right before the event portion of the panel discussion kicked off, all of a sudden the audio and the video stopped working, and so we had to improvise. So the layout you see here was not planned, but I love the ladies so much that they saw me freaking out internally, and they decided to shift everything, smush us all together, and get us all in the frame. And so this is one of the moments where you just kind of have to go with the flow and do the best with what you got. So I can't thank the ladies enough because their ability to help me out and keep me calm and not have me freak out, because of course this is my first event of this type. And I can't thank the ladies enough. So if this is your first episode with me, I'll go ahead and introduce you. And so as I was editing this video, I recognized, as of course, as it would have it, that the first half hour of this conversation was somehow mysteriously muted. And so you missed all of the introductions to myself and the panel and the purpose of and intent of this actual event. So I figured while you're just watching us talking and everything's muted, I would jump into a voiceover to attempt to give you guys an introduction and kind of guide you into the discussion when the um, audio mysteriously comes up. So my apologies. I'm not used to doing voiceovers, so I am kind of stumbling. However, um, I am Krys. I am the one right here in the middle. And so I'm the host of this podcast. I'm the founder of the podcast. And so my story is actually featured, and I will include everyone's story and their podcast episode in the description below. However, I created this podcast as a place for me to share my story and some of the things that I've encountered in life with the hope and intent that someone else is able to relate to it, find, feel seen, um, cultivate a place to where people can have these discussions, heal, grow, have conversations, connect, all those things. And so that's the purpose and intent of my podcast and this event. And so, like I mentioned, all the ladies here that you see next to me are all guests that I've had on my very first season. And so I will begin introducing them all to you. And if you want to know more about any of the ladies, of course, like I said, their episodes will be linked in the description below. But starting at my left, on my left, like I said, I'm the one in the middle. On my left is Miss Shana Chargois, and her story was very powerful. She has gone through so much, and I have to constantly remind her that she does not look and act as though of all the things that she encountered in her life. By far, her story is one of the ones that left a lasting impression on me, and it has so many nuggets of wisdom in her story. And so I definitely recommend that you go and check her story out, her episode. You will definitely be inspired. And then to her left is Miss Ashley Kohlman. Ashley was actually my very first guest, and her story depicts the true meaning of being resilient and the fact of she's been able to overcome some of the struggles related to having PTSD as a result of serving in the military, and also being a survivor of narcissistic abuse. So her story definitely, like I said, depicts a true picture of what it means to be resilient and have strength against no matter what comes your way in life. And so I definitely recommend you to watch her story too, because there's so many things that she's encountered, but she still has such a beautiful spirit and has that can do um, attitude that keeps her going through life. Now, to my right is Miss Kimberly, the counselor, and I invited Kimberly to do an episode with me. Like I said, all these will be linked in the description below. But I wanted to have the perspective from a mental health professional. And so Kimberly is a licensed professional counselor. And so she balanced out the panel because she was able to bring insight and wisdom from the perspective of a mental health professional and give everyone a place to ask those specific questions, especially in a setting to where it's not just one-on-one. She was able to answer from the perspective of the greater audience. So to her right, we have Miss Chandra Smith. Chandra was one of the episodes that I did very early in starting this podcast as well. And Chandra's story is a beautiful story of how she was able to make that huge pivot and, not allow life to keep her feeling trapped and in decisions, and she was able to make that pivot and change her life and make some hard decisions, and just knowing how to be choose herself, choosing herself and her own sanity and her own learning to choose herself over above everything and just go against, what her picture that she typically thought she would have in life, and basically be able to recreate this new version of her life. So all the ladies here have incredible story or have, you know, invaluable wisdom to give to you guys. So I am so sad that you didn't get to hear some of the beautiful stories and the analogy that Shana has here with the bricks. But for those that were there in person, know the story and the meaning behind the bricks. And so hopefully we'll get another opportunity for her to demonstrate, and we'll have the good audio, but that's why that's there. So I hope you enjoy the discussion, the conversation. And as always, if there's questions, let me know. But I believe we're picking up with Chandra answering a question that I answered to, or I spilled it to the panel. And so I hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
You did great. So we feel like, and I'm in a modeling business because I am an educator, but you can't do, when you bring in other people into your space, you can't expect them to get it or understand it or comprehend it the same way that you do. And I feel like that's where I felt at, and I would bring people and I would show them, and it would be some lessons. Oh, it was some lessons, and it would just take so long. And the people that are in my circle that love me, that value and explore me and know me, will say, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, because if somebody is truly meant to be there for you, they're going to learn the way you operate. It's that you're not going to have to model it. They're going to watch you. They're going to explore you, and they're going to learn the way you operate. They're going to know what you need because they are truly there for you. So stop it.
Or they seek it, right? Or they seek to know you. Like
Yes.
That was the difference.
Yes,
Instead of
that was
me just
exactly the
giving
difference.
it was like, whoa, you want into this? You want to know me? You want to know how I tick and how I think? Even though it was kind of crazy sometimes. Like that was the difference. It was, I didn't know how to be sought because I just gave and gave and gave and gave.
Okay. So, Ashley, I'm going to you now. And so, as I reflected on her interview and her story, I noticed that there was a lot of adapting and adjusting to life's changes. Like I said, she's served in the military, so that's an adapting and change from going to civilian and serving in the military, and then changing back around to going through some abusive marriages, and then now becoming a single mom. And so her whole interview not only resembled resilience, but it also just made me realize how adaptable she's been able to be in her life. And so one of the first questions I want to ask you is is, can you recall a specific moment where you resisted the change or resisted the time to adapt, and but you found it to be beneficial? And what was that? What did you learn from that experience?
I was telling them earlier, I had to really go back or really go deep within myself to really be able to answer this, because I'm on this path of, let's go, bring it on, change. I'm built for war, right? And probably one of the most significant ones that I can recall, and the change that I kept resisting based on my own fears and based on my own unforgiveness, was knowing when to walk away from my previous marriage. That was not healthy. It was very narcissistic. It was very, very bad. And I remember something had occurred in my home, and I had just been trying so hard to protect myself and to protect my children, and to not say the wrong thing, and it was a constant fight or flight concept. And I always said that sometimes our loyalty can be our downfall. Sometimes our loyalty can be our downfall. And there was an incident in my home that occurred. I am holding my 6-year-old now, and he looks at me And he says, Mom, I just wish it was you, me, Matthew, and Brooke. And I said, excuse me? Because I was holding on. Part of the justification and my loyalty of staying is I can't do this to my kids. And they were from a previous marriage. And, God bless my ex-husband. Yes, God bless my ex-husband. He adopted them. And I was like, I cannot fail again. I can't fail these boys again. My 16-year-old just repeated it, and he said, Mommy, I just want it to be us. And I had realized that I was resisting a change that I knew that I needed to make when he gave me permission. But I couldn't give myself permission. And in that moment, it was like the lights came up. And I was like, wow, I have been resisting knowing the steps that I needed to take because of how loyal and faithful. I just got to exhaust it all, right? I just got to make sure. If I walk away, it needs to be, I can't say that I failed again. Well, in all actuality, I was failing in the places I was not looking. Mm-hmm. And so it became very beneficial. I think that was a huge moment in my life, or an incident where I can say that I was resisting a change that I knew needed to be made. And of course it became beneficial because I made the appropriate steps to remove myself and my family. And I'll be honest, to this day, however it looks like, my ex actually took steps to better himself. That's his own journey, it's his own life, but it doesn't matter. He took steps, it's on him and what those steps look like. But if I never would have done that, I never would have gotten out, and he never would have taken the steps. And that, where those steps take him, again, his path, his healing, thou shalt not judge. But I wouldn't be here today. I promise you that if I had consistently resisted that change, I probably would not be at this table.
Yeah. And then her story reminds me of when you're in an interview, when you said her son said something very similar.
Yeah. So it was, she's talking about adapting, and mine more so is just being at peace, and just being in a marriage, still being alone, or raising a family, but still having to do it by yourself. You have the body, but you don't have anyone to kind of, you don't have anybody else that's pouring into the home. You just have yourself. And so it was, and for me, I had painted this picture, right? I painted this picture, and I'm very big on art and drawing and painting. So I painted this picture of what I thought my life was supposed to look like. And I knew I was waking up I remember it so vividly, waking up every morning just saying, like, this can't be it. I'm not supposed to feel like this every single morning on the way to school. This is not how I'm supposed to feel. And then my baby, my son, I'm cleaning up after dinner, and he goes and he looks at the other adult in the house, and he says, get up and do something. Help her. Like, your mommy does everything by herself. She just cooks, she just cleans, and he just names everything. But he goes to the other adult and says that. And it's like, Mommy, you do. And then came to me at the dishwasher and says, you don't deserve this. And this whole time I've been holding on to what I thought this picture was supposed to look like. Because you said it. Because I painted this picture. I never imagined myself being the head of the household. Didn't imagine myself buying myself a home by myself. I didn't think I could do these things without the help of a man or my husband. And I was removed from that. So I had to go through turning everything upside down, tossing water on my canvas, and just repainting the picture for me and my babies. And it's just, because it's not what I pictured, but I'm so happy that it happened.
because it was so necessary. Because today I do things I never imagined that I could do, and I do it by myself. Now, am I waiting on my man? I am waiting on my man. But in the meantime, while I am waiting on this wonderful God to show up, I am embracing myself, and I am loving myself, and I am showing even myself that what I am capable of, that my child saw, I didn't even see, because I would have continued to hold on, because I thought it was supposed to look like this. So, yeah. I knew I was gonna be the first one.
Oh, I caught myself. I was right there. I was so close.
So I'm going to ask Ashley, what strategies or coping mechanisms did you use to help you deal with the adapting to change and getting there? So the fear.
Do you want the healthy ones or the unhealthy ones that people started to point out to me? Because let's be honest, right? I mean, I can sit here today and map you the healthy ones. I used to be over 300 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Okay? I put myself into the gym. I started investing into myself. I poured myself into everybody but me, and gave everybody everything. That was one of my biggest coping strategies that I had, and is I started to work out and eat healthier and things like that. And of course, we all have our weight is just a number, but that was a huge coping mechanism. And then I started to feel confident, right? Then I started to be like, wow, I was 310 pounds, and I personally found cardio kickboxing. Okay, because that's stress relief too, right? You know, and then I was like, I did that, you know. And then when you just get a sliver of confidence, it starts like, what were we talking about earlier? The pipes, right? You get that sliver of confidence, it starts to olive branch into other avenues in your life. So that was, I can tell you personally, my biggest coping mechanism was the gym. I'm not saying you need to be what they call a gym rat. I'm just saying a walk, just taking the time for yourself, or even sitting on the porch and drinking a cup of coffee. Some other coping mechanism that I have is I re-found myself in God. I always was the person like, why my life? Why me? I'm a good person. I give myself, I help people if you need help. Like, why are all these things coming? Because I'm not sure if you have watched my podcast, but I literally have a timeline of adversity. Things I didn't even picture as trauma and adversity that were then pinpointed to me much later on in my life. And I used to just go, why? And then somebody said to me, because he wants you to turn back to him. Mm-hmm. It's not that he was punishing or causing any of this to happen, but I was not allowed to go to church in my previous relationship. And I was not allowed. I could not go anywhere by myself. And I started to go by myself. And I found God. And I started listening to his words. And then the biggest coping mechanism I found is I started to build a community of similar energies and similar support systems. And for the first time in my life, I had positivity around me in God, and I had it in the people I chose to hang out with. I mean, I just became a sponge. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not crazy. But it started with the gym, and I know it probably shouldn't have started with the gym. Probably should have started with the Lord. But it started with the gym. Then it started with my church, and then it started with my community. And those are my three biggest coping mechanisms to this day.
And they all sound they're healthy self-care techniques, you know.
Oh, yes.
Getting active, being connected spiritually, and building community, and having people to have around you that support you.
And let me tell you, it's not an everyday thing. I falter all the time, but I learn how to forgive myself and have the empathy necessary with myself and just say, you know what, I'm doing the best that I can do, you know.
So is there a connection between self-compassion and resilience? And if so, how does treating yourself with kindness and understanding contribute to being resilient?
I think resiliency is a mindset. I'm not the matter. I'm looking at the experts. For me, I had to learn like resiliency was a mindset. I had to condition myself that I could view things through a different lens if I so chose. And I hate when people, it's like, it comes down to a choice. It comes down to a choice. In some things and in resiliency, I think it comes hand in hand. It is a psychological muscle, resiliency is to me. So if you cannot learn to forgive yourself and understand that you are human and give yourself the same empathy and forgiveness you've been giving everybody else around you when they have slated you and done you wrong, and you just keep going back to the well to get more and more and more and more and more and more, but you can't do that with yourself, you're not training your resiliency muscle. So for me, it goes hand in hand. You have to have compassion for yourself in order you to exercise the resiliency necessary to cope with whatever you're going through. And that took me a really long time. And it took me having to hear a lot of hard things I did not want to hear. And it came down to a choice. I said, this is not the life. I had to redo my painting. This is nobody's fault. This is just these. You don't get to be mad about the cards that you are dealt with. You get to decide how you want to deal the cards you're holding. And so if you can't find the compassion in your cards and what life has given you, then you'll never be able to move on and grow. That's just my concept. Looking at the experts.
I'd like to add a little something to that. You know, when you can decide what you want, what you like, that's key. Because what people present to you and offer you, you have the ability to say, I want that or I don't. Okay? And you have to be able to stand firm on your own foundation and not step over to theirs. They're saying, oh, crack is good. Come, get some crack. You know. Now, I know I don't like drugs, period. And crack sound druggish to me. You know what I'm saying? Can you break it down? Let me know what that is. So you got to get yourself built up for the resilience to come forward and knowing what you want. She mentioned Maya Angelou earlier. You don't have to keep kicking me before I finally tell you, you know what? I believe you. You don't like me. I believe you. You don't want to be with me. Once that is done in you, then your resilience can rise up. You can stand firmly on your own foundation. No, you ain't going to have me blaspheming God. Wait a minute. No, you know it ain't no God. The Holy Ghost ain't this. Oh, I believe you. You're not for me. And when you get to the place where you believe, finally believe, the bad treatment, the abuse, the abandonment, the rejections, all of that, believe it. You did that. That's not what you want. I'm not what you want. And it's okay. But I choose not to endure what you're trying to put me through.
I'd like to add to that. I think that, I concur with everything that you guys just said. I think that you don't get resilience without resistance. You can't build any muscle without some form of resistance, and resilience is no different. It happens in the mind, but everything starts there. I also want to piggyback off of you, Ashley, and say that, knowing what you want, you have to be self-aware enough to know what you want. At some point, you have to come to that pivotal moment that says, you know what? I drew this, but it doesn't look like what I have. And so we get so mixed up and caught up in what something
we want it to be and not viewing it for what it is.
Okay. So I'm going to switch over to Miss Chandra. And as I went back to her episode and listened to her story again, I noticed that there was a significant theme about boundaries and protecting your peace. And I want to refer back to one of your analogies in your interview where you mentioned roots and branches. Can you explain that and then just give me the guidelines of what it would mean to be a root or a branch? Or
Yes, I can. And I want you guys to know that that is not mine. I got that from my dear. That is my dear. But it has stuck with me ever since that play. And and so I,
Didn't give credit.
Yes. So that is not mine, but I do use it. So she's talking about the analogy of people in your life. You have people that come into your life. You have roots that are going to hold you down. Those are people that love every part of you. The ugly, the good, the bad. When you change, because we're going to change, they're going to love you. They're going to accept you, and they're going to rock with you the entire time. They're never going to waver. They're going to hold you down. You have people that come into your life and they're branches. They're there for a certain amount of time, but we know branches are weak. Branches will break and they will break off. So therefore that leaves you, you cannot depend on a branch. And then you have people that come into your life that are seasonal and they change colors. They're going to change and they're going to fall off. I think it took me a while to put this perspective into my own life and start repositioning people and seeing who they are for who they are and not what I hope them to be. Because I would hope that everyone that's showing in my life, you're going to be my root, right? But that is not what we get. That is not what we get. And even with people that we do not have the agency of putting them wherever we want them in our life, they are just there. Like I said, we cannot choose our mother, we can't choose certain family members, but we can reposition them and we can recognize what part of the tree they are and just hold them accountable for it. So what was your question? What was the question?
You didn't answer. But do you have specific guidelines of how does one become a branch? How does one become a root?
Think about that one. I don't have guidelines, and I don't think it's possible to have guidelines because on our walk of life, we're going to meet who God has placed us to meet. We're gonna people like as a teacher. I don't know who I'm gonna have next year. I do not. I don't know what teachers I'm gonna be teaching with. I don't know what teachers I'm going to coach. I don't know. So those people, I feel like once you learn somebody, once you see them, once you experience them, it's all about repositioning. How close and differentiating my interaction. So that is something I'm very big on in order to remain in peace. Because I am still walking. I'm still walking. What did you say, friend? Kimberly the counselor. Kimberly the counselor.
Which part?
You said we was talking about healing, right? And I was like, I'm healed. But I've been uncomfortable. I've been going through this process, and I've been so uncomfortable. And when you talked about you want me to go instead? I can be quiet.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, friends. Tell the people about.
No, I'm going to let you tell them about it. But I do want to add to, because you said. So when you were talking about the roots and the branches, so it gave me a visual of how in the engineer world in space, when you design a rocket, when the rocket takes off into space, there's certain parts of the rocket that's designed to fall off because there's some places of elevation that people just cannot go with you.
Come on,
So that reminded me of that. The other thing that I wanted to just add to what you said is that you said you reposition. I would like to get to a point to where I don't have to reposition, because reposition means you've been in a position before. So if I'm viewing and vetting you, I don't have to reposition you, because if I'm drawing a parameter around myself, in geometry, what is that little thing called? You do it like that, and then you draw
protractor.
Contractor. So if we have protractor.
Yes.
Okay, so if we have a protractor, and we're the middle where the dot is, and you draw this parameter around yourself, you get to place people where they want to go. It doesn't matter if that's your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your kids. It don't matter who it is. Toxicity is toxicity.
That's right. That's right.
So we don't have to reposition after we learn.
Well, see, we learned. I told y'all I'm
after
going
we
through a
learn.
process, right? So I'm learning. I was having to reposition, but once I get through this stage,
You're going to position.
I'm going to position.
I like that. I like that. And speaking of that, can you give us an example of a time where you compromised your own peace?
Oh, I'm done doing that, friend. Krys, everybody, doctor.
When you didn't set your boundaries,
Yeah.
what did you learn?
Yes, where I compromised my own peace. Okay, I did.
Because of the lack of boundaries.
Yes, because of the lack of boundaries and because of that hope factor. When you meet new people and you feel like you've grown and you feel like, oh, okay, this is what I want in my life. This is when you are secure with what you want. You know what you want, and you come across someone who is not completely sure what they want or who they are. You, being the loving and hopeful person you are, you create this hope factor that they're going to be what you know that you want. And so because I was operating off of the hope factor, I compromised my boundaries and my peace. And once I recognized it, I said, oh no, we're not going to be able to do this one. Because I went through too much. And I went through all of those lessons not to go backwards.
So do you feel like you meet that threshold faster now that you've gone through those things?
I do. And it's a process. It's a journey. Even it's practice. Like once you're healed, it's still a practice. Still a practice. It's every day. You're healing every day. You may be healed in those areas, but you have to practice those things. You have to practice. A great runner cannot just stop running because he won a marathon one time. You have to continue to practice.
I have a question, and this is kind of a personal question myself, is I love what you just said, that hope, even when you have instilled hope, sometimes I personally struggle with the hope and then not listening to my intuition. Like, do you experience that at all? Or, I can give you real examples of the knight in shining armor, dating in your 40s, right? And you have hope, but I know deep down this individual.
We're back to I have to believe you. You know,
Self-awareness.
so you didn't even get my door. You're more concerned about yourself and never me, because you're gonna show me. They will show you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the hope is that they will change.
Right.
Okay, it's okay to have hope, but you drive in your car and I drive in mine, and when you change, holler at your girl. Okay? That's how that has to be. Because by the time you keep going through the calisthenics of trying to figure out, is this live or is this Memorex, you know, he's already drug your heart through the mud.
It's a fine balance between hope and intuition, and knowing what's right and wrong, and that is something that I have to practice every day.
Ashley, I feel like it's a piece of self-awareness.
Yes.
Because I feel like your intuition is going to build on who you are and what you're worth and what you deserve. Your intuition is always looking out for you. So if you go against your intuition, you're kind of going against your self-awareness, right? Dang, Krys, she out there. She'll be like, she always tell me not to change who I am. If somebody doesn't fit with me, don't change who don't you become the bitter, the mean person. because of how they treated you or whatever. So you know what you're worth. You know what you desire. You know what you deserve. Seems like even if I do and I fall weak because I let my boundaries down and because of the hope factor, it's always I feel like it's just always self-awareness. Like I'll say, oh, I can't go because I'm aware. This is not my season to do all of that yet, y'all. I gotta step back. This is not my season to do this, but it's coming. You know what I'm saying? He might not be, he look cute, but our seasons are not aligned. This is not gonna work.
So how did you guys, because you guys both mentioned self-awareness, how did you guys develop that self-awareness?
I had to take my little expensive self out on dates and stuff and just really just cater to my little expensive self and just really learn what I like. So that is what I did. And I'm doing it now. Like doing things that I wanted to do, like things that I desired to do. And it was just about me. That was just it was about me.
You're getting to know yourself.
I did.
So what's your favorite solo date so far?
And I don't even solo because I'll talk to somebody at a bar. Cause I'm just that social. I'm gonna make a friend somewhere. Somebody gonna talk to me today. But you know what I did lately? I went to the pond. I went to a lake, and it was just ducks, and there was some guys out there fishing, and I just sat up there. I think that was probably and watched the sunset, and that was probably one of my most peaceful times.
That's good. I like that. Ashley, you want to say something?
No, I it's exactly that. But I don't even think it applies just to dating or anything like that. I didn't know who I was because I was trying to be everybody to everybody else, and I really had to figure out. Everybody's like, I think it's in several movies, but like when somebody asks you, how do you like your eggs? I was not a person that could answer that. You know, in all aspects of my life, because I was giving everybody of myself, sacrificing it. What I was a yes ma'am. And so for my self-awareness, even in the dating world, it's 100% take myself off my little expensive self too on dates, but but I had to learn what I liked and what I didn't like. I had to learn the self-awareness of where were my toxic traits, where had I not healed from, where was I really comfortable not being uncomfortable. And so the real pivot for me was finding people and a therapist who believed me.
What do you mean by believe you? I may not with the context.
Because of my experiences in my life, there was always a fear that nobody would believe me. You know, even if I look back on my military career, I am a disabled veteran. I have walked into the VA and the lady at the desk is like, where's the veteran? It's right here. I had a psychologist once in an agency say that I was female. There's no way that I saw this much combat. Well, I wish I didn't. You know, and then I had the same one trying to make me pick what type of therapy I wanted, and I'm like, hey, I just walked through the door after 16 years of being broken, and you've already told me you don't believe me, and now you want me to choose my treatment. Welcome. So for me, outside of just getting to know yourself, you know, if it took finding somebody that was just like, I absolutely believe you. And like listening to me, and then forcing me to get uncomfortable, forcing me to relive things I did not want to live, because I was with a gentleman, my ex-husband, for almost 10 years, and I had not told him one story from my Army days. But when I found the right person, I was like, well, here we go. We're going to open it up. Get ready. And then taking the believing into my own previous marriage, nobody believed me when I left. Because who that individual was on the outside was not who he was behind doors. So knowing myself, getting to know how I wanted my eggs, or what was my favorite drink, and what my favorite movies are. I couldn't even tell you what my favorite movie was, because it was always what other people wanted on the TV. It came down to finding help and somebody who believed me.
So why do you think that is? Because you both said the same thing, and I'm pretty sure there's more people that agree. But how do you think it comes about that we don't know who we are, and I'm going to use myself in my 40s, having to rediscover? How does that happen in life? Because if you ask one of my children, they'll tell you, I like this color, I like this is one of my favorite things, this is what I like to do. But as we age,
I just want to be liked. I just want to be loved. And it goes far, far greater hole and gap that is severely not filled. And you got to figure out where the gap and why that hole exists.
And a lot of that is when that's all you want. You want to just blend in, not really stand out, not be different. Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's what we will do. It's never about you. So if I'm accepted, okay, that was the hope thing, I hope it's good enough for you to really want to be with me. Okay, so now we reverse that thing. You come out in reverse and you say, hey, either you like it or you don't. Let me know. Just let me know. And I don't have time to play. Okay? Are you looking for a wife? No? Bye.
You got a job?
Yeah.
You living with your mama?
Yeah.
No? Bye.
What do you mean you don't see your kids? Why?
Wow. Don't even want to be tangled with her. Now you know. And sometimes we have to go through
I'm the
hard
red
things.
flag.
That's it. Flag on the plate. We have to go through hard things to find our way out, to unlearn some things that we have been doing, some things we have been taught. Our mothers might have taught us to don't talk back to that man. I wish I would be quiet. Now, I'm going to tell you right, I ain't got to yell at you, but I'm going to say, no, I disagree. But, we've been taught wrong, some things.
Yep.
Go ahead.
For me, I feel like I lost myself because when I became a mom, I started putting on all these different hats. And I wasn't a hat for me. It was a hat for my kids. It was a hat for my husband. It was a hat for being a military wife, what I'm supposed to look like. It was just all these different hats. Then I got the teacher hat. It was just all these different hats. And it was exhausting. And at the same time, like, what I like to do? How am I going to have fun? Because I modified the things I like to do. I don't really care for that kind of fighting, but I'll watch it. I don't really care for that sport, but it's sport, so I'll watch it. Everything that I did, I modified for either the person that I was with, for my children, for whoever, for the school kids, for the teachers. I modified Chan so that everybody else could be comfortable. And that's how I lost myself.
Yeah, and that's what. And
Take
that's what
a Coach or a Louis Vuitton with Cheerios at the bottom of my bag. What? Why? Modify my purse for y'all? Can't even carry my favorite purse without y'all stuff in it. So it's I was doing that, and that's how I lost myself.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say I think that it's easy to lose yourself, especially when you have to be so many different versions of you. You have to wear so many different hats. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a teacher, you're a friend, you're a daughter, you're a sister. You're all these different things to everybody, and so you're so busy because you can tell me your husband's favorite this, favorite that, what he want to eat, how he like his beer, cold, warm, lukewarm, room temperature, water, But when it comes to us, what do you really know about you? One of the questions that I always ask my clients is, who are you? Like, who are you? I think I was like 37 before I realized I prefer plasticware. I don't like eating off of silverware. It bothers me. So, but I was older when I figured that out. But if you could ask me anything about my kids, I can tell you, I can rattle it off, So I think that's how we lose ourselves when we're becoming everybody for everything for everybody except for ourselves. We always put ourselves last.
And the way I teach my spiritual daughters is you're going to either take 24 hours, 48 hours, or 72 hours, at least, for you, just for you. Have you had a day where you had absolutely nothing to do? Absolutely nothing? You need to find those 24, 48, or 72. And I push them. Well, I don't know you're going somewhere. You're going to do something. It's about you, and that's how you get to know you. You make you important to you. You keep wearing a thing out, it will wear out. Stop. Breathe. Come on. Step outside of the chaos. Every day can be chaotic. Step outside of it. Take your 24 hours and say, well, if I bust a Texas state line, shoot, and make a U-turn, that might be 24 for me. Just me and my ride. I'm not answering no phone. I'm not trying to figure out what nobody gonna eat. You got to do that for you. If you want to stay in the tub and reheat the water for 6 hours, watch a movie. Quit. You have to. You'll burn you out. You'll end up to where your mental and your everything is below where it needs to be.
We have to prioritize ourselves.
You really
we
must.
have to be at the top of the priority.
And then I don't know if you want to add to that, but then you have to reteach the people that are in your proximity.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I'm speaking about my kids specifically, right? Where you just whatever you want. No, mama, like the words, me finally pushing back on my children when they wanted something. Ooh, mom guilt big. But when I can now today say, I am overstimulated. You will give me a moment to collect myself. Do not knock on my door unless there's something on fire or somebody is hurt or injured. And it took a really long time because my kids were so used to me just being right there for every single thing. The accessibility to them, and I love them. That doesn't mean I'm not, caring for them. I would sacrifice, and it took a long time to reteach, not just my children, but people that I allowed in my proximity, that I was not going to be that accessible.
I want to say something about, because you guys keep mentioning proximity and hope. And so I think that hope fosters or is some type of catalyst for proximity, because when you have hope for something or when you have hope for somebody, you tend to let them closer and closer to you. And then not really knowing that proximity is so dangerous, because like you said, Ashley, everybody can't handle being that close to you. And you never hear people going around saying an enemy broke their heart, because enemies are in their right position. So I really think that when we talk about hope, we have to be mindful that it can be a catalyst and it can foster proximity, because it's our own hope that does it. Regardless of what people show us, we still hang on to the hope, and you allow them into, close proximity to you, and then you get the same results.
And then you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, we're I was going to transition over to you and ask a few questions about mental health specific topics. The first thing I want to talk about is how can we reduce the stigma around mental health? And what a stigma is just a negative behavior, an idea. So, if you go and not many people are open to say, yeah, I had a therapy appointment, I'm going to see a therapist, because then they have that fear of being judged. Or we hear, oh, well, you don't need a therapist, nothing's wrong, just go pray about it or write about it in your journal. I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work, but sometimes God gives people unique skills and insight as to how we can help us work through some of the challenges that we face, especially when it comes to having trauma or having experiences that you need somebody to help you walk through and talk through those things. And so my question to you is, for somebody that is not seeking therapy because of those stigmas or afraid of going to therapy for those stigmas, how do we work together to reduce that stigma or get over that stigma?
I think that we work together by bringing awareness, knowledge, psychoeducation about it. I think the more that people understand and have clarity on something, and the more knowledge they have on it, the more acceptable they are to it. It's a lot of unlearning that society should do when it comes to just mental health alone, and then seeking therapy or counseling or whatever, because it can be looked at differently depending on what culture you come from. But again, I think that awareness, bringing about an understanding, bringing about knowledge of, what counseling is, what therapy is. It doesn't mean that you're crazy if you're going to your therapist. If you have a counselor that you see once a week, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. I think that therapy and counseling should be looked at just like if you go to get your teeth cleaned, if you go to get a mammogram, it should be a preventative care. You don't want to wait until you're mentally in a state of drainage to when you go and get help. You don't wait until your teeth fall out to go to the dentist. I hope not either, because if you do, you're going to run the tab up like that. But yeah, I think that just awareness, understanding, and knowledge, education about it.
I'd like to add something to that. First of all, please don't let it be, when you really get a toothache, I don't care if it's a Sunday, if it's 5 o'clock in the morning, it's hurting so bad, you're going somewhere. That's what happened in our lives. We get beat down so much until, we're pushed to seek help. Help is always here. You have to remove the shame factor. And you have to be educated on what's available for you. She named something off real fast. She said counseling, therapy. Okay, then you have a pastor. If you can find one that got time for you. There's spiritual help there. There's God. There's the Word of God. It's a lot of help. Everything is not for everybody. But the point is, get you some help. Look, okay, I know we got the S on our chest. Superwomen, Superman. I know it's there. We keep pushing and pushing, but let me tell you, you want to be healthy. You want to continue to live. And under all of that you go through, that somebody can help you find your way through the maze of life, reach for it. Reach for it. There's so many things you can do virtually, so many things you can do online now, so many things you can do on the phone. I mean, when I do premarital counseling and the couple is not in Texas, I'm on the phone. And I got a timer going, okay? Because y'all talking me to death. But anyway, we get it done.
Pot calling the kettle. No, I'm just kidding.
And I also think that it's okay to do both, because you have some people that say, well, just pray about it. Well, do both about it. You can do both. Like, there's no, just because you're making it a matter of prayer doesn't mean that you can't be in counseling or therapy. And just because you're in therapy doesn't mean you can't make it a matter of prayer.
Mm-hmm. You can use a combination.
You can use a combination of all the things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps for people who have not experienced therapy to see the outcomes, or maybe hear testimonies of therapy, because you hear people, oh, he crazy, something wrong, you know, like depending on your culture, you hear these things, and it's stereotyped. And so until you see the outcome, or you've seen someone or heard someone's testimony, you may have a different perspective about it.
And that's kind of what my whole being uncomfortable and just sharing so many deep things about my life and things that I've experienced, and I tell anybody, hey, I go to therapy because I've been through a lot. But yeah, it used to make me feel ashamed, but the fact that I'm, made it for anybody to go click on the video and watch the whole thing, I figure that it's more important for me to be candid and share and tell people, rather than have that one person that could potentially be suffering or facing things like suicidal ideation, or thinking about, that there's no way out of this. If I can tell my story, or somebody else can share their story and they can resonate with that, I feel like I've served the purpose, So, speaking of community, one of the other questions I have for you is, post-COVID, we had to isolate for a long time. And I really had to get a lot of empathy for people that were isolating alone because of the state that we were in. How do we support, or how can we support those that are isolated or feeling isolated post-COVID, and especially when it comes to mental health? What are your suggestions?
I think that just making ourselves ready and available to people who may not have the opportunity, or may not have a way to go into face-to-face therapy or counseling. I think that that's what COVID did for us. COVID caused us to evolve. And so it caused us to make ourselves ready and available for people who were not able to get there, because now all they have to do is just pick up their phones. You can do therapy on your phone. You can do therapy on your iPad. You can do therapy on your computer. You can do it virtually. You can even do a therapist chat. So there is whatever form of communication that is out there, just people have to first be aware of what's out there. And then knowing what's available to them, they will have access to it. And encouraging them to go, because just because a person has it at their fingertips don't mean they're going to click the button. So we have to, like Chandra said, if more people are giving their testimony of how therapy or counseling helped them, or how, then people may want to come more, because the truth is that people have their own idea of what therapy and counseling looks like. When people come to counseling, I've heard so much, different things. I'm like, well, no. And so I'm an informal counselor. So I'm not going to use big words, because we just having a conversation. And I want, more than anything, for my client to feel comfortable with me, and to understand that they're in a safe environment, and that we're not using big words over here. What we're doing is we're trying to get down to the root cause of what brought you here. So, anyway, to answer your question, just making ourselves ready and available, letting them know what their options are, and then encouragement from all communities that, it's okay. We should normalize talking. Like, I think the biggest stigma that culturally African Americans have is what goes on in this house stays in this house. I hate to even hear the slogan because it's an oxymoron, because the truth is what goes on in your house, if it's not dealt with, it's going to affect everybody on the outside of your house, because whoever this child encounters, they're going to affect their life. Whoever you encounter is going to affect your life. So, just bringing awareness and being available and encouraging people that, you know, therapy doesn't have to be you go lay on the couch and just say things you don't want to say.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't look like that.
It's uncomfortable at times, but it's like you said, each therapist has their own unique capabilities and skills. So just like you may walk into one therapist's office and you may not click with them, then you keep looking, because just like with dating or with friends, you're not going to connect. Or you said at church, you're not going to connect with every person. So you don't want to give up like you have one bad therapist, because it took several people for me to see it. It's not that I'm a difficult person, but it's just like that person didn't resonate with what I was looking for. So
whoever you feel comfortable with. And then that's another thing. You can pick your therapist. You can vet them. You can go and read their bios. You can call and do a consultation. You can go see them once or twice and decide, you know what, we're just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And then you just move right along.
Yeah.
So you're not stuck. You don't have to feel stuck.
In my situation, I was fired from my therapist, not from the VA. She refused to see me. I was very unhealed. At that time, she passed me to a student. But with that said, though, sorry to digress for a moment, that little trainee that was going through whatever they go through, I don't know it, you guys probably do, saved my life. I connected more with that day one therapist than I did with the actual psychologist, because she started to listen. But what happens in that aspect is they rotate. So she was in outpatient rotation, and they moved her to inpatient, and then I would have to go back to the lady that fired me because I yelled really loud at her because I was not healed. Because I couldn't have seen combat. There's no way I lost my best friend, and there's no way I lost my driver, and there's just because I was female, and I just refused. And so what did I do? I stopped going to therapy until something else forced me out of my comfort zone. Yeah. So it's like shopping for church. It's like, and I made a few cry. I'm not proud of it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I look back at that and go, whew, you couldn't tell me anything. I was very unself-aware. And it took, even though I connected with that student therapist, I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, it took a very strong-willed therapist and some situations in my life for me to finally, that I had to feel confident that they could handle what was coming out of my mouth. Because what I had to say was not normal.
So now I think I'm just going to start asking the panel this question so anybody can answer it, and then go from there. And then feel free, if anybody there has a question, you can always ask. So the first thing I want to start off is one of the terms that I hear often that I'm starting to resent myself is being the strong woman or strong friend. And so I guess by the show of your hands, how many of you guys consider yourselves to be the strong one in the friendship or in life?
Oh, in the friendship?
Or just friend, life, period.
I would consider that someone who is very caring, very considerate of the people that you call friend. The Bible talks about a friend at midnight. I don't care what time you call me. If I tell you I'm coming, I'm coming. If I tell you I'm going to do something, if I tell you a duck can pull a truck, hook him up. Hook him up. He will pull that truck. So it's about a strong friend. You know, if I got, we all got. If I show up, I know what you drink, I know what you drink, I got it. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're going to sit and have Pepsi Cola together, that's what we're going to do. Everybody has what they like. She like Dr. Pepper, she like Coke, she don't drink soda. So a strong friend. is taken advantage of a lot because they don't even consider what you would do for them.
And that was my next
without
question.
expectation.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was like, do you ever get tired or resent being in that position?
Yes. But does
Being
that make
strong
you
friend?
stop?
Mhm.
Yes. Even being a strong friend and you get tired.
I got something to say.
Go ahead.
Cause all my friends are strong, and so I feel like when you're and this has taken some time, but I am truly blessed to be amongst a circle of some really strong women, and I have not always been a part of that. I have gone through circles where I felt abandonment and different things that have caused triggers, but this point in my life, I can truly say that I'm a part of a circle, and I'm surrounded. There's strength that is amongst the entire the circle, and I don't feel tired when I'm with them.
So it sounds like you have a good support. Yeah.
And that's good, but if you're the one who's the strong friend,
I mean, Dr. Shane, I understand what you're saying.
always strong, and nobody's being strong for you. That has to be addressed with your circle. Okay, like she's saying, she's found a community to where it's vice versa. That's what she's saying.
But when you have everybody
And
leaning on you.
that is very, very, very difficult to do. Now I have that. I'm inclined to agree with Chandra. I don't feel that way. Like I don't get tired because I surround myself with people who reciprocate.
Yeah.
I'm strong for them, they're strong for me. I'm their friend at midnight. If I call and say I shaved my eyebrows off and drew them on, they know it's time. No matter, that's the code. Like that's literally the code.
Yeah.
So I don't feel exhausted when it comes to being the strong friend because all of my friends in my friend group, in all of my friend groups actually. So I really feel blessed. Everybody's strong. Everybody reciprocates.
But I've gone from that, Dr. Shana. I've gone and I've been a part of that, and it is exhausting.
Because you're carrying everything.
Yes. Yeah. And people have to be able to say it, recognize it, and be able to protect yourself. To say, look, no, I'm not answering my phone today. I'm tired.
I was just about to say, I think part of my issue in feeling tired and being the strong one is having the courage to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Because I firmly believe that there are people within my circle that if I just had the courage to say, I'm tired, I need help, or to pick up the phone at midnight with my eyebrows that are no longer in existence, they would be there for me. But it's taking a long time for me to say, I need help.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you, Ashley. I had somebody point out to me
And
that
giving
same
them
thing.
the opportunity to be strong instead of always looking to me as the strong one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she asked me, found out, she said, you said that these people are not supporting you, but have you asked them? And I'm like, well, they should know, but then at the same time, how
Is
can
that
they know?
expectation?
Yeah.
And hope. I hope you pick that smoke signal
Well,
up.
why wouldn't they help me? I help them. Why should I always have to ask? And I think there's like a saying, I mean, we're all amongst, I feel like there's a very strong energy here, that when you're with a strong individual or a strong woman, we don't want reactive, we want proactive.
Yeah.
And we tend to put, at least I personally put that into a lot of aspects of my life. And I am learning very, very gradually and hard that I gotta ask. Because if I've already painted that painting and I'm in the process of redoing it, that's how they see me.
So I have a question. You all say you have a inner circle of friends. How many people are in your inner circle?
There's one.
It's 3 up. I can give you that. It's 3 up. Even in my inner circle, they can respect me for who I am. They can respect me for what I do. And then they can respect me for when I just want to be a clown. And that don't take away. That's my inner circle. I can tell you anything, and I don't have to worry about the judgment. Okay? But there's that helping hand there. When I say, Because we come together and somebody's going to say, oh, you can fix that like this, you can fix that like that. So that helping hand is there. We're holding one another up. That's my inner circle. You know, they're going to say, listen, let me pray you do that. Oh, you trying to get what? How much do you need? Come on, God, link up. you understand? So that's that inner circle. My outer circle is people who don't care anything about me. Really. My outer circle. So you got a mid circle, an outer circle. Outer circle is, you know, what can you do for me, girl? You gonna come over here? You gonna spiritual cleanse my house? You gonna do this? You gonna do that? Whoa, Buddhist. What? You know? Can you
It's not a
reciprocate?
tit-or-tat.
No reciprocity.
Yeah.
That's why they're outside the perimeter.
That's why.
I
Because
don't know how many you guys had. 'Cause I know how many.
oh, okay.
Oh, how many I got?
Yeah.
I have, and I had to write it down because honestly, I have 3 circles of friends, and I don't take that word lightly, and I don't wear it lightly. But I have no more than 4 in each friend group. But in each friend group, everybody's strong, everybody reciprocates, everybody's intentional, and everybody is attentive. So when I say friend, they know show up. You know, and I do the same.
And for me, I come from a military background, so some of my most longest friendships and that are like, if I don't talk to them for 6 months, but let me tell you what, I call them at midnight on a Saturday. They're gonna pick up, and the first word is where are we going?
What do you need?
And that's one circle of friends that I have. It's not something I check in consistently and constantly. My everyday friends is probably about 3 to 4 that I know that if, you know, I'm not here, right? I'm a single mama. My 16-year-old thinks he's big. He drove through Atlanta, Georgia for the first time today.
Grown up.
You know, he's spending the night at the house by himself because he's grown. He's about to be 17. You sure as heck know I called a few friends to make sure that they drive by the house, to make sure, 1, there's no parties, he's not that way, but you know, but 2, to make sure that he's okay. Like, that's that inner circle, and there's no timeline. I could have met them last month, and they could make that inner circle as long as they are reciprocating the same level of energy that I am giving them. So I think that's I've never seen it broken down that way, but to answer your question, I have a couple of group of circles, and I have the ones that are there with me that I can ask them for anything. Or I just bought a house, and the first thing that this inner group said to me was, "When are we moving you?" I didn't have to ask them. They just said, "What time, where, when,
proactive,
and how can we help you? Do you need us to come over?" And there's a lot. I mean, I tend to use myself as an example a lot, but there was just chaos before I came here. I had a friend show up at my door at 9:30 at night with boxes, an energy drink, and said, "What else you have to pack?" And I will be honest, was slightly annoyed. Because I'm trying to get out, but this individual that knows how overwhelmed I write it. There's a version, at least for me, is I don't want to be told how much I'm stressed. If I see you stressed, and I know you got a lot on your plate, it's not like, what's going on? Why are you so stressed? It's, what can I do to help this person? What can I take off their plate? Do you need? That's one circle that I have.
I think it's important. I think that we're held accountable for who we hang around. So I know for me, if you don't meet the qualifications, and I say this, you know, in the most humblest way, I don't want you around me. I don't hang around with people whom I can't be me with. I don't hang around with people who does not reciprocate what I give, they give too. So because if that's not occurring, then somebody's going to be emotionally bankrupt. So I always, when I'm looking at my friend groups, I tell my kids all the time, I said, what is the difference between an oak tree and the acorns that have fallen to the ground? The potential of every acorn is to become an oak tree. But the reason why acorns don't become oak trees is what?
Squirrel.
Their environment.
Wait, what'd you say? The squirrel?
Well, they fell in the wrong spot. A squirrel and the environment. Okay? So the environment determines your growth.
Yes.
Our friend groups is our environment, and they determine our growth.
I have a short answer. 2 circles of 4. I'm surprised you remember that.
It goes back to the very beginning when we started the conversation and Dr. Shana talked about it's how I do you, right? And then you go about talking about accountability and everything else. I was reading or listening to something recently. It talked about the understanding of me, myself, and I, ego, and self. Where I'm trying to go and ask you all the question is, oftentimes as human beings, we create certain, I would say, identity to take responsibility for things that we ourselves are responsible for. What is your thought in the idea that people suggest that often it's my ego or it's the ego versus taking responsibility because it's just you? So I'll open the floor to you. Is whatever that's happening, and we often say it's either my ego or
Write that one down.
versus that one person, because you are you. How do you assign that when you're talking about how I do you, right, versus how you do me for each person, and then how do we assign that to ego?
I'll just go first, and then they can close it up because they got some good stuff. But I tell you, I didn't bring all of this stuff for nothing, so I'm going to utilize it. So, what do I present to you? Okay? If I'm the big CEO of the business or whatever, okay, this is what you see. But there's other aspects to me. So I'm not going to reveal this to everybody. I'm going to walk a certain way. I'm going to talk a certain way. Now, if I'm something else altogether different, here we go with the shifting of the hats. Okay? And what you present to people. If I'm this, then the CEO people are never going to get to see this person. You understand? But if I'm just transparent and people can see, you understand? If I can see you, if you can be transparent with me, I can help you. You understand? But if you want to present this hat or that hat, see, so when you see Dr. Chargois come in, okay, we're gonna walk, you're gonna try to walk a different way with me. But if I present to you the wife and the mom, you better know the mom got a hard hand. You know, if I hit you, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you hard because I want you to stop. I don't do no repeats. You understand? And if I come on and shift down to the wife, you know, hey, you know, Megan, how you got them knees working like that? Let me see if I can get my knee. I'm just saying, you have to shift and understand that people are made up in a lot of different ways, okay? And it's what they present to you. So what you present to me will give me the opportunity to deal with only that part, unless I shift to the apostolic or the prophetic, and I see something you don't want me to see.
And they always see.
And I can see. And the prophet can hear. Go right ahead.
So I may no, I'm not gonna do it. The way I understood you to ask the question is you're talking about the accountability of me, myself, and I, the egos that we create. So I think that is equivalent to when people say, well, that's just who I am. Well, that's just me. Well, I just been like that ever since I was 12 because my daddy would tell me he gonna pick me up from Six Flags and he just leave me there. So now I just act like that. So to me, no, that's not being accountable. And I think that somewhere along the line, you picked up trauma characters and then you named them egos, because it's not so much of what we've been through, it's not the events that we've been through, but it's who we had to become in order to get through that particular time in our lives. So for me, it still says you're not accountable until you can say, well, you know what, I don't trust men because my dad left me outside several times after he told me he was coming. However, but because but voids everything before it. I'm working on it. And I know that it's something within me that I need to correct, because sometimes I'm the problem. Like 10% of the time.
So ultimately, the red flag is you.
The red flag could be.
Back to that.
It could be.
Whether you assign a character.
That's right, because you adopted a trauma character, and now you running around here claiming it as if it's a badge of victory.
Or part of your identity.
Or part of your identity. Oh yeah, I'm just like that. I just, I don't
that's
like
just
talking
so
to
and
people.
so. He or she's always
Yeah, no.
like that. You'll get used to it.
But yeah, I don't think that. I don't think that that's accountable. You're accountable when you can face why you are the way that you are, and then
truly
you are identified, and then you make a pivot, and you change that.
Yeah.
You heal and you grow.
You heal and you grow.
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is covered up by the different personas. You understand? Who the hats I have to shift on, because I'm not going to go into church and do things one way. But I can say I've always been this way. No. Because if I shift hats, that might not even be present.
I'll ask my last question.
You're fine.
I got a whole bunch I could ask. When you talk, when you're talking about proximity and you venture into the idea of branches and roots, and I was listening to another conversation regarding something I've learned. It says that the birds do not worry about trees or branch, whether they are solid or rotten or whatever that it does. It doesn't trust in that. The faith it has the faith in itself and its ability to fly, whether the branch cracks or not. And so the question I would ask when you're talking about hope and intuition and everything else, how do you navigate to a point where you recognize the faith in you, who you are as a bird or as a person, to allow people to come in, right? Because sometimes trauma in this situation allows you to close, and you close people. Allow people to come in, but to trust in the ability that you are strong enough to fly.
Because you learned that you're enough.
Right.
Yeah.
You learn that you're enough, and you learn that, okay, yes, I've had my heart broken. This person didn't do me right, but I know that I'm able to get up and I'm able to keep going. So each time that you jump on each branch and this one cracks, oh, well, I know that I've been here before. I'm able to go beyond it, and I'm secure in who I am. And I know that eventually I'll get to that branch that will be secure, and I can sit there for a while.
Man, I had a whole visual, right? And that's good. That is really good. That's really good. But I feel like it's where you are in your journey. And I'm maybe my visual could be completely wrong or whatever, but I'm sitting here and I'm looking at a tree and I see the bird, oh, that is weak, and then I see a bird just fly off, right? Because I'm trust myself, because I have awareness. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm trust myself to fly or whatever. And then I go back to the roots of a tree. I'm ready to nest. Can't just go nest on a branch and break. I'm gonna need something solid. So I feel like it just depends on your different perspective, and I feel like it's also where you are within your journey in life. Are you that bird that is going to just fly alone and self-discover and become self-aware and do all these things and build self up, and then and then even in the end the bird doesn't stay. But when a bird is ready to, I'm ready to nest. So I don't got time for no branches breaking right now. I'm finding us a clear spot
and nest.
But I went through a phase of my time where I was the bird and I chose to fly. It was scary, but I trusted myself and I flew.
I would go back to what you said before, right? You saying you're ready to nest, right?
Right.
But life happens, people change.
Right.
When you first meet, you can both be ready to nest, and at the end of the day, transition happened, real color starts coming out.
So there's a lot of narcissism out there.
My question for you is pretty much, how do you position yourself to know that side of that, like you say, you enough, but at the same time, don't shut yourself to the world because of the fact that
That side, so that side of me or the side of the other person?
Okay, so we dealing with you.
Okay.
So each person dealing with. I'm dealing with myself and you're dealing with me.
Right.
How do you consistently? Because you said healing is a journey.
It is.
Forgiveness is a journey.
It is.
But oftentimes in life, as human beings, we grow, we change. Life changes us. Events happen, right? People constantly working on being better. But you can be ready for the nest, and the nest is happening right after the nest. Everything happens, right? A wind blows, and everything else just shatters. So how do you constantly stay in that mindset? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I think what you're asking, I think my answer to that is trusting my recovery. Regardless of whatever branch I land on, I'm going to trust me, because I know that even if I land on one that's going to break, I can recover. Because at this point, my faith is not in the branch, it's in my ability to fly or my ability to move. So I will allow people into my life to see who they're going to be. And so if they show me that they can be trustworthy, loyal, and amongst all the other things that come under that tree, then I'll know then that I don't have to worry about a recovery, because nothing should happen. So, but yeah, I think that we shouldn't go about life not shutting people out, is what you said. So, but you do let people in, but I think at that point, when you begin to let people in or land on the branches, your trust is in your ability to recover or to fly. And that comes with resistance that builds your resilience to be able to move like that.
So not relying on the outcome of what it may or may not be.
Right.
But through the process. And yourself, trusting yourself through the process.
You trust yourself, your ability.
Because it's necessary.
I would also like to add to that we live in a very hyperlink, instant gratification society. There's something to say about patience. And I feel like this day and age, I can tell you, like, speaking on dating, she has visions of rockets and it's all, and she's got, I don't know if you guys have seen Wreck-It Ralph, but the candy stripe tree, right? So what happens if you can't fly? Well, there's going to be another branch that's going to catch you. But for myself in that situation is they don't get 100% access to me right from the get-go. I don't want to say, they have to prove it, but there is something to say about old school courtship. And I am looking for intentful people, not just if you're intentful into me. I am watching how they are intentful in their life. If they're like, I go to the gym all the time, very important to me. I try to for my mental health, and you're like 3 weeks into this and they've never gone to the gym once, or you've invited them to the gym. They lying.
Yeah, they're lying.
Right? So for me to answer your question, how I navigate it is I try to be patient, and the key word is try, because I have messed up and paid for it. But I was a bird and trusted the recovery when I messed up. And I have to also remember that actions will always speak louder to words. I am a firm believer in this concept. If they want to be with you, the time, the effort, the sacrifice, the inclusion into their life will come naturally, willfully, and you won't have to ask or beg for it.
I am literally like in the mirror every morning saying, go get the money, go get the money, go get the money, go get I mean, it is like
I don't even know what to say to that.
I'm just saying, the TikTok girl.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that I'm not. Okay, so my name is Ashley Kohlman. I'm 5'6".
No, I'm just saying that every morning, like I feel like you're also asking, how do you remain in that state? It is going to waver, and so it is within yourself to motivate self. And some days you're going to have good moments, some days it's going to be bad, but you already know what you've already gone through, and you know what you're capable of, and it's just simply being your own cheerleader and motivator. Like, I'm not going to do it again, but
It's making the same decision over and over again.
That looking at yourself, believing in yourself, and reminding yourself it is a day. The journey is not pretty, but it's like every day. It's kind of like when you're in the gym and you're saying, "Oh, this is heavy. Oh, I'm tired." But
you make the decision to keep going.
Exactly, because you want a different outcome. You want your body to have a different outcome.
And I think self-awareness is key in this too, because what happens when you get healthy? I'll tell you right now, I've seen healthy and it scared me. It scared me so hard that I had to sit that individual down and say, I am scared. And this is why I'm scared. And that individual looked at me and said, hey, guess what? Me too. And thank you so much for telling me that you were scared. I didn't say I'm broken and I'm not healed or whatever the case is. I mean, I saw something that I thought that I wanted, always wanted in this individual. And I had the audacity to have the self-awareness instead of suffering in my head and self-sabotaging it and being in my nest alone, going to that person and saying, I'm freaking out, man. This looks really, really good. And I'm struggling here. This is where I'm struggling. And literally that individual was like, how can I help you? What do I need to do?
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Because he has a list.
And I will add to that did not end up working out. And even though that individual reacted the way so positively, I mean, I grew from that, right? That was a positive experience. At the end of the day, our communication styles were just not applicable. They were just not. I was a very direct communicator. He was not. And that's when I realized that I needed somebody that could directly communicate with me, not this, like, hey, yeah, maybe we can work that out. I'll let you know later. I learned real quick that didn't work for me. But I am forever grateful for how he responded to that, and we were able to even part on great terms.
That's growth.
Yeah, and that's growth. I got uncomfortable, and he let me get uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you felt comfortable with getting uncomfortable with him.
And even if it didn't work out, I still have a friend. I still have, I mean, I'm not going to call him and be like, hey, but I know that individual played a key in my path. And maybe that's all, maybe he was just a branch. Maybe it was just an acorn. So when I say maybe he was just a squirrel getting the acorn. But all I'm saying is if I find that again, I know how a good reaction is. So I'm forever grateful for whatever that moment was.
Yeah, absolutely.
My last question, we talked about healing, right? We talked about it's a consistent process. When you think about addiction, let's say alcohol addiction, you know how people go to AA, it's a constant process throughout life and different things, right? As you said, sometimes you may be healed from something, but I'll often think about the the parallel of scar, right? You go through things, you have scar. Sometimes they throb, and if somebody else come in and slash it again, they open and gush and everything else. So talk to us, or maybe expand or expound on the idea of, as healing is a process, time is important, right? And at the same time, that same healing that you have, because it's a process, somebody can nick that and it comes up again as an issue.
I'm going to go first because so that I don't forget and I don't have to write 1,000 more notes. Healing is continuous, and that's why. That's why. Because you can be healed from the trauma that came with your mom, and then someone else comes around and they do something similar to that, and then that cuts the wound open, and now you got to deal with that again. So healing is always continuous. It's no different than going to the dentist, getting braces on your teeth, and then not wearing your retainer, right? So if you don't wear your retainer, teeth have memory, they're going to go back to where they originally was. So we have to continue to keep a retainer on the places we've already healed from. So we continue to walk in healing from that. So if somebody reopens that scar, you continue to walk in healing with it. Hopefully, we're not out here having to heal from the exact same thing every time. If that's the case, it's a whole total different conversation.
That's from the same person.
Yeah, same person, same thing. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Different problem.
If you look at the word healing, that tells me ongoing. But when you say, I'm healed of that, you understand? That's past tense. That happened, okay? Now, to the different traumas that we go through in life, like I said, it's sometimes where did the healing take place? Was it just in my flesh because he shot me? It didn't heal my soul that he broke my heart. You understand what I'm saying? So it's different levels of healing, and we have to walk through certain processes. There are finished lines, guys. There really is, okay? You know, now can you give me my leg back? No, but I can give you a prosthesis. You understand? And we go on and keep moving, but that means I'm healed from that, yet I didn't get the leg back. You understand? So we need to be able to distinguish between I'm still being healed. I'm not quite there yet. So some of that is ongoing. It's like the peeling of the onion. Come with me now. If I take the first layer off, I'm healed on that level, but I'm still in the process of being healed. So it's some healing going on. So when you get down to the core, to the root, we're talking branches and root again. You understand? When you get down to the root of that thing, what caused me to just lose it? Because it's something that did. You can't look at the outer surface, the first couple of layers. You're going to have to go down to the origin, the beginning, the root of it. Okay? Because what happens is you have something that looks like a tree with dead branches. So anything that falls on it breaks. You understand? So ongoing. Yeah, we got to that point. Yeah, now you can accept the fact that you are really wounded. So there's a saying that I do that says, hurting people hurt others. And it's been founded. You know, it's tried. Okay? You know, this is my seat. Okay, who hurt you? Who took your seat before? Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. You can identify. We have to be able to see some things in order to help others. It starts with you. You have to help you and be transparent with yourself. Okay? What's wrong with me? You know, why did I just snap at her? Why did I do that? You know, something wrong with me. Let's go back. It's not what she did. Let's go back and see why I reacted to something.
And then you don't get to say there, like your first question, well, that's just how I always been. I just don't like people to sit in my seat.
No, it's
or, you know, I'm just going to sit right there instead of saying, you know what, let me dig a little bit deeper and find out what's going on with me. Why I act like this, like I don't have good sense when somebody sit in my seat.
Yeah.
So, are there any other questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So when y'all were talking about self-love and wearing different hats and etc., how do you still love yourself, be who you are, or do what you want to do as a single mom who doesn't really have much support, or as a new mom?
As a new mom, you make the time. Like how Dr. Shana was saying, what she would tell her spiritual daughters, you make the time. You take 24 hours. You take 48 hours. You don't say no to self. When this baby comes, do not say no to yourself just because your baby is there. Okay, your baby becomes an addition to who you are. Okay, and you have to make time for self. It has to become sacred because you are important. And if you are not thriving, then baby's life is not going to thrive.
Accept help. Especially if you're a first-time mom, you may think that you can do it all, or you can handle it all, or you're just too afraid. I know for me, speaking for myself, you have to accept and do the help. And know that it's okay to not be okay. Know that it's okay that you need to get the rest, because depending on how baby sleeps, you may feel like, I always say sleep deprivation is like a torture. And so you will find yourself trying to manage and handle and do it all, especially if you're single. Then you have to find that community of people that can help you and know you can lean on them and say, hey, can you take the baby for the night or for 8 hours so that I can sleep, because that's important. So you just have to accept help and know that it's okay to get help.
I think it comes down, like for me, because I was a single mom with my boys when they were much younger, and at that time I worked law enforcement, shift work. I was single, and this is not in my podcast, but there was a small amount of time I was not only law enforcement and shift work and single mom, I was homeless. I was living in my car, but my kids thought we were camping, and it was because I didn't seek help. It's because I was too prideful, because if I do this wrong, I'm going to be judged. And if somebody knew that I'm failing my children right now, I'm going to lose them. And so as a new mom, I'm gonna tell you to cry when you want to cry, and I'm going to tell you to scream when you want to scream, and I'm going to tell you to be beautifully unperfect, because you're going to know exactly what your babies need, and it will not matter to anybody unless they are in that small proximity. And when I say matter to them, they're going to go, not, hey, you look stressed. They're going to be like, I'm right here. I have, in the younger days, have put my babies in their cribs and walked away and shut the door. And I felt like horrible, but mama's overstimulated. So for me, it's not just 24 hours. I wish I had you. Where were you? To me, it was some little things. Even like I said, even today, for me to have the courage to tell my children and show my children I'm not perfect, that I am human, because they're older now, right? I'm not proud to say, but my older children have seen me in a full-fledged panic attack. I didn't hide it from them, because I needed them to see me human. I needed them to see how important me saying, hey, mama's really they're older obviously, but overstimulated. I need this moment. But mom. Hey, mama is dealing with something. I no longer hide my imperfections from my children, and if I could give you any unsolicited advice, I believe that God will never send us a partner that is perfect for us, because it won't teach us unconditional love. But when he sends us children, you will feel unconditionally loved, and you do not have to be perfect. You will know. Everybody's going to come to you with all this stuff. You will know. And you'll take a little here and a little there, and you'll find your mama proximity group, and they're going to make you feel sane.
Let me add to that to tell you that you're not going to be mommy at work. When you go to work, you're going to have your suit on, do your glasses and your little pen and business stuff that you do, whatever work is. When you go home to be mommy, you're going to be mommy. You're going to leave work at work, okay? And when you go in there, children don't come with manuals, okay? It's about developing relationship. When you hear your child's cry, you're going to know if they're wet, you're going to know if they're hungry. It's just natural, so you don't have to worry much about that, okay? And when you don't know, you can call mom and say, Mommy, I don't know what to do. And that's okay. That's called in a circle, a support system in place. So that's going to be in place. But even you just have to make sure that you know what you're doing, when you're doing it, and act accordingly, okay? When it's time to go out and have fun, you're not saying, oh, let me go warm a bottle up, make sure it's warm enough. You're not being mommy right then. You understand? So be able to shift is what I'm trying to suggest to you.
Prioritize yourself.
Yeah, and I would piggyback off of that and say, yes, definitely prioritize yourself and know how and when to transition. Like Dr. Shana said, if you're at work, you're an employee and an employer. You know, if you're out and you're doing a 24-hour getaway and some granny babysitting or whoever babysitting,
You got to be.
Grandma got it.
Then do that. Relax.
Don't try.
And don't be trying to, you know, you have to. Transition is very important because if you don't know how to do it, everything will run into one, and you'll look up and you not know where you are and what you're supposed to be. So I would say 3 P's: provision, prepare, and be patient with yourself. And then also line up your help. Know what it looks like. Everybody will tell you, oh, I'm going to be here to help you. Okay, well, ma'am, sir, what that look like?
Yes.
What does your help look like?
Yes.
What does Lolly help look like? If Lolly says she going to help you, need to ask Lolly what that. I'm Lolly. I changed it. So whoever says that they're going to help, you know, I just encourage you to say, okay, well, you know, find out what your help looks like so that you can know what you have in each individual person that says, well, I'm going to help you. The third thing I'm going to tell you is that self-love is an umbrella. You have to be very careful not to get self-care and self-maintenance mixed up. Going to get our hair done, lashes and makeup and feet and toes and rubs, that's self-maintenance. That's not self-care. So you want to make sure that you're always fulfilling the self-love umbrella, including self-love, self-care, self-compassion, self-maintenance, and all the other selves, because that increases your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-value, your self-worth, and all the other things that go along with that. So don't forget about you. Yes, you're going to be a mom, but you can't lose you, because if you lose you, then what does your kid have? Nothing. On the aircraft, you've been a flight attendant. So who puts on the mask first, even if the kid is there? Mommy. Because without mommy, what you got?
You got to take care of you.
So you have to take care. So you have to prioritize yourself
In a healthy way.
in a healthy way. In a healthy way. Yes.
I know that's what you meant, but I'm like, that doesn't mean you go out to the bars. Be like, hey, Lola, I'll see you in there. I'm going on a bender. Or Lolly.
We'll come find you.
Yeah, I wish somebody would have told me that, because I lost myself completely as a mom. I wish I had somebody that said, don't forget who you are and where you came from.
Yeah. It's easy to do.
It really is.
It's easy to do because you get consumed.
A wife does that more than I've seen any other person. A wife loses herself because she wants to be pleasing unto her husband. She wants to be the best wife and mom that she can be. But now she's taking on his, we like to go riding horses, you know. No. He likes to ride horses. That's okay. You understand? It's easy to lose yourself, your identity. Who are you? Oh, well, we do this. No. What do you do? That's my question, to pull people back to their individuality. It takes two whole to make one, not two halves. Okay? And it's not all about him, and it's not all about you. Called compromise. Okay? So we come together. Well, you gonna watch football, I'm gonna go watch Lifetime and over here. Okay? We good? That's what we can do. That's called compromise. And still not losing you. You understand? My husband gonna like some rice and hot sauce, Louisiana hot sauce with every meal. I'm not dying young. That's your choice. I'm gonna put that right over here. No, I'm good. Enjoy. Amen. Because everybody has a choice, and you don't have permission to change people. How about that?
I think the other thing is resources. Educate yourself on what resources are out there for you. I'm not just speaking on self-care and where do I get the best massage. I'm talking about resources. Like if you're a single mom and you're transitioning, what does the state of Texas offer? I wish somebody would sat me down when I was living in a car and said, "Hey, have you heard of WIC?" Ooh. And it's there for a reason, you know. So if you find yourself in that situation and you're trying to provide for your babies, I would also educate yourself on what support you have resource-wise as well. And there is absolutely no shame in that whatsoever, because you're doing what's necessary to provide the best that you absolutely possibly can for yourself and that baby.
Well, I think that's maybe all the questions that we have. Yeah. I certainly appreciate everybody coming in and listening and joining in on the conversation. Like I said earlier, I feel like being able to have conversations and find community and similar stories, I feel like it's one of the most important things we can do to cultivate a culture of healing and being connected to one another. And so that's the whole purpose and intent of my podcast and events like this. And so I hope that you were able to find something that resonated with you and you're able to get encouraged or inspired with these conversations. I am open to any more questions after this if you have any. But I appreciate you all coming and joining me. And thank you for joining my conversation. Have a good one.